Today on Barb's Healthy Life, we'll be making a butter bean pesto spread, which was emailed to me by Deliciously Ella. The recipe calls for 100 grams of pine nuts, along with everything else you see here. Okay, so it calls for pine nuts, but I like my pine nuts toasted. So I'm going to throw them in the pan to toast for a little bit before I add them into the spread. So to start our butter bean pesto recipe, it calls for 1 can of butter beans, which when I Googled, I found out were lima beans. It also calls for a large pinch of salt. So we'll make that a large pinch. Calls for several ounces of basil leaves, fresh basil leaves. So hopefully that'll be enough. It calls for 1 clove of garlic peeled, but because I like roasted garlic and these are tiny, I'm just going to put these right in. Calls for an awful lot of oil, 175 milliliters. I'm not going to put all that in right now. I'm going to put some of that in. That just seems like way too much. Also calls for the pine nuts, which I wanted to toast. So now I'm going to throw them in now that they're toasted. And hopefully most of them get into the food processor. Yeah. Okay, and that was I think about 4.5 ounces of pine nuts. I do like my pine nuts toasted. Okay, then it calls for the juice of 1 lemon. I'm also going to put in not all of the juice of this lemon, just because my lemons seem to be a lot bigger than other people's lemons in their recipe. So I don't want to overdo it with the lemon juice. You can always add more. All right, so let's mix this up. Okay, that's been mixing probably for about 45 seconds. Let's take a look and see how that looks. Looks like it could use a little bit more blending, but you can see it's pretty well mixed. And the flavor is good too. So let's keep this mixing and we'll check on it again. It's looking pretty good. The recipe did say that you could add a couple tablespoons of water, so I'll do that now. Also, I'm thinking it might need a little bit more basil, so I'm going to add a little bit more oil, just a little bit, and then we'll taste test it again to see if it needs any more basil. Let's whip this up again. Okay, let's check it out and see. Looks pretty good, pretty well mixed. Does taste really good. It has a subtle flavor. I think we might add a little bit more basil. Let me go get some off of my plant. All right, so I just grabbed some basil, some fresh basil from the plant that I had, and I'm gonna throw it all in. It's hard to measure the basil, so I know that in Ella's recipe, she had a very green finished product, and mine does not look that green. So I'm gonna add this basil. I actually love basil. I love the way it smells on my hands. And I've actually had my father grow basil because I'm not the best grower, and the plant just bloomed incredibly. So I have lots of basil here. All right, let's take a look at it. Once again, it looks pretty good. We do still have some little pieces of the basil in there. I wonder if you used a Vitamix or a high-speed blender, if that would get a little bit more smooth. Flavor's really good. The lemon juice really brings out some flavors. Might even add like a little bit of little more roasted garlic next time, but it's really very good. Okay, so I did decide to try to put it on my NutriBullet to see if it would mix up a little bit better and get a little bit greener with not such big pieces of basil. The pieces aren't too big, but I think I'd like them to blend a little bit better. So I'm gonna give this a try. So the thing with the NutriBullet blender is that it really likes things to be liquidy for it to blend. And I don't think that this pesto was liquidy enough. It did manage to break it down a little bit more so that it's a little more green and the pieces are a little smaller. So in that way I do think it's a success, but it might need like maybe a little bit more water or oil next time. And here's our final result. I'm just gonna throw this butter bean pesto into the fridge to chill, and then I'll be able to use it on lots of different things. So was Deliciously Ella's recipe for butter bean pesto fabulous or a fail? I think it was fabulous. I used it in lots of different recipes, and I would highly recommend it to you. Thank you for taking the time to watch the latest Make and Taste video on Barb's Healthy Life. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe below and tap the bell to get all the notifications whenever Barb's Healthy Life puts out a video. Thank you so much.